Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday, everybody. This is Blair Miller, the Atlanta News First Plus desk, the First Alert Desk, and we are bringing the latest news and headlines and weather here tonight in this 8 o'clock hour. It has made it to the end of the week, so hopefully you've had a great week. A lot going on tonight as we get ready for the final night of the DNC, so here in the newsroom, certainly getting ready for that. And we'll talk with meteorologist Cutter Martin here in a few minutes to get a sense of what's to come, because I think all of us have really been enjoying this nice break from the heat, these cooler temperatures. And but as we know, it's August here in Atlanta, and that heat certainly will be coming back. In fact, today I was walking kids to school, and a lot of people walking around saying, how long is this going to last, as if I'm the meteorologist, but they know I work in a newsroom. So a lot of people wondering when that heat comes back. It's been really nice in the meantime. But a breaking story we're following here in our newsroom tonight is out of Carroll County. We've been following this since earlier today around 5:30. Police in Carroll County, after a man was shooting at deputies. I'm going to show you some video from the scene. And this is what our First Alert chopper captured over the scene. Some new video just into the newsroom. We know a suspect is in custody. This all playing out on Old Jones Road and Acorn Creek Road in Carroll County. It's showing officials taking a man from this house right there. He was eventually loaded onto a stretcher, but police had been saying earlier tonight, if you were living in this area, they were urging people to stay inside their homes. All this kind of playing out around 5:30 and into the 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock hour, but getting word here in the last 30 minutes or so that a suspect is in custody. We have Atlanta News First reporter Blake Devine there at the scene, and he is following the latest on all of this and talking with investigators about what they found out there and what's behind all of this today, because certainly some tense moments, as we've seen throughout the week, really some tense moments for law enforcement all across the Atlanta area, with situations where law enforcement has been shot at in different areas. And so certainly a concern for them, and we'll be hearing from Blake Devine here tonight in our 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock newscasts. As I was telling you here a few minutes ago, I'm going to switch back on over here. But as I was telling you earlier, it is the final night of the DNC, and so all eyes on Chicago and what's happening there as they wrap up the Democratic National Convention this week. It certainly has been playing out. Let's go ahead and show you some live pictures inside the United Center, where we've been hearing from a number of speakers, throughout the week, and that playing out. Many people don't realize, there are a bunch of speakers that we hear from, throughout the day and throughout the evening as the convention gets underway. It just gets in the primetime coverage a little later in the evening, and so this is some of what's been playing out there in Chicago, and you see Reverend Al Sharpton up there as well, and so a bunch of dignitaries will be taking the stage tonight. Of course, we will be hearing from Kamala Harris as she formally accepts her nomination for president. This primetime address coming just a little over a month after she entered the race for the White House. And our political reporter, Doug Reardon, is there in Chicago. He has been covering this every step of the way. He has more on what you can expect here tonight.
This is by far the most consequential moment of Kamala Harris's political career, and Georgia lawmakers from towns and cities, big and small, tell me they will be listening for policies that will affect their constituents. A few things we heard frequently. One was the economy, money. The cost of groceries, for example, is something all Georgians are struggling with. And this week, Harris announced her intention to enact the first federal laws banning price gouging by food suppliers and grocery chains. Grocery costs were up 25% since 2020, with some food producers seeing record profits at the same time. Another thing we heard a lot about was infrastructure. Mableton Mayor Michael Owens, who is also a delegate here, wants to hear how Harris will help small cities like his.
There's a lot of things that need to happen, particularly at home, on main streets, our bridges, our roads. The ability to infuse money locally into communities is what means a lot.
Harris is also expected to talk tonight about her desire to enshrine the right to an abortion in the Constitution. Georgia Congresswoman Lucy McBath will also be speaking. From the United Center in Chicago, Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.
We will be hearing from Doug throughout the evening. He will join us live tonight in our 11 o'clock newscast, or whenever we go on air after the Vice President is done speaking. And I hope you join myself and Sean Gables as we break down what's happened in this convention so far and how it ends and how it wraps up in Chicago, but also the impact this now has on the race and what happens from here. We'll be talking with Doug about all that, and we'll have all the day's news. We'll be updating the situation out of Carroll County, and I do want to bring in meteorologist Cutter Martin, because we've talked about how great this weather has been last couple of days. And Cutter, I mean, man, it's hard to top, but it's it's going to be it's about to go away, isn't it?
It is. I think we have one more nice morning. So tomorrow morning could actually be the coolest of the bunch. So if you're tasked with walking the kiddos to school again
Yeah.
tomorrow morning.
Well, it's my job every morning. That's what I
Yeah.
do, because otherwise I wouldn't see them based on.
and tomorrow it's Friday, nice weather. It's really going to be a gorgeous day out there. And then the heat comes back. So we're talking about heat really expanding into the work week forecast, and we could potentially be pushing some records. So again, some really hot stuff on the way there, and we're going to be switching our graphics over, getting to
Yeah,
the
I'll
weather
switch on that
computer.
anyway. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Yeah, and it's going to be a time of heat as we get into next week. So again, keep that in mind. We are not done with fall. We are not done with or we're not done, I should say, with summer. We do certainly have quite a bit of hot weather coming up in the extended portion of the first alert forecast. So we're going to be breaking down the forecast day by day here, more specifically the 7-day coming up in just a moment. We're going to switch around our graphics. Mess with our cameras here for just a minute, and then we'll be joining you here momentarily. So again, just hang tight for just a minute, and we'll be bringing you back into the forecast and kind of into, we'll call it a weather conversation here going forward over the next little bit. So just hang tight, and we'll be back there in just a minute. In fact, we can go ahead and pop it back up here. If you do have any weather questions, comments, concerns, do want to remind you that we are streaming across many platforms, one of which is YouTube, and that's a great place to converse, to chat. If you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, again, feel free to give me a holler on YouTube. The place to be right now, if you do have any weather questions, comments, concerns, just Atlanta News First on YouTube. Also, you can text us 470-777-9263. That's WANF, the last 4 digits. Of course, if you're typing out on the keypad there on the phone. Want to go ahead and parts of this forecast are going to be online. Then we're going to bring you to the first alert 7-day forecast as well. So kind of a way to keep an eye on the forecast. That is at atlantanewsfirst.com. And also, of course, you can always grab the forecast in the First Alert weather app. So here is the latest First Alert forecast. In fact, we just updated this, and the big story is that it is oh so nice tonight, and then we do have big changes on the way in the form of heat. In fact, that forecast there clipped on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the forecast video. That is from the 7 o'clock newscast. We have a written portion of the forecast there in case you do prefer to read kind of a synopsis of what is going on, and that is available there at the top of the web page. Again, all you have to do is click on Read More, and it'll pop up. But once you scroll down, again, there's the whole synopsis of what we have going on. But let's get to that hour by hour, talking about the stunning evening conditions underway. On this page, again, atlantanewsfirst.com/weather, or just click on the First Alert Weather tab. You can see how temperatures are already starting to cool. We were in the 80s earlier today. Now falling into the 70s, and before evening is out, I think if you're watching First Alert meteorologist Fred Campagna tonight on the late news, Atlanta News First at 11, and probably, there's a chance we could go on late again tonight. So just a heads up, we may go on late. Here's a preview of that forecast, and you'll be able to grab an updated forecast from Fred Campagna in the First Alert weather app a little bit before the 11 o'clock newscast as well. So temperatures continuing to trend gradually cooler, 80s becoming 70s, becoming 60s. And in the 3-day forecast, please do enjoy tomorrow. Cool start. I would call it cool by August standards. And then a warm afternoon tomorrow, perhaps a degree or two warmer than this afternoon. Upper 80s Friday, upper 80s Saturday. And then here comes the real heat in that First Alert 7-day forecast here. We're going to get back up into the lower 90s as we get into Sunday. Now, Monday, our transition to real heat. We're not approaching records by that point, but warmer than it should be with temperatures back in the mid-90s. 96 Tuesday, 97 Wednesday, Thursday at 97, with the morning temperatures back in the mid to upper 70s as well. So not only is it going to get hotter, but we're also tracking more humidity in the forecast. And keep in mind, it's kind of playing in tandem there. The mugginess with the heat, it's going to feel even hotter. Actual high temperatures, upper 90s. Getting very close to records here by the time we get to next Wednesday and Thursday. Also, by that point, it's going to start feeling hotter across North Georgia and Metro Atlanta with humidity factored in. So do keep that in mind. All the more reason to get outside and enjoy the relative, comfortability and the forecast. Get outside and enjoy it if at all possible. We do have a pleasant evening, and I would call it a cool Friday morning ahead of the much hotter weather with high temperatures again in the 90s, and it's feeling hotter than 100 perhaps. Getting close to heat advisory criteria potentially as we get into the middle of next week. Along with that, a dry forecast. Again, this is all because of a ridge of high pressure that's sinking air. It's squashing our clouds. It's sending temperatures soaring, and it's keeping, unfortunately, the forecast rather dry into the middle of the coming work week. Isolated rain chance. We have it back Thursday. I think a greater rain chance as we get into next, not this coming, but this next Saturday, Sunday, Monday. A reminder that 10-day forecast is available at AtlantaNewsFirst.com. In fact, we can go ahead and pull it up for you once again, as well as available in the First Alert weather app. Here is a look at AtlantaNewsFirst.com /weather. Just click on the First Alert weather tab at the top of the AtlantaNewsFirst.com homepage. And scrolling down, notice how next Friday, next Saturday, so day like 9, day 10 here, basically, finally bringing in a scattered chance of showers and thunderstorms back to the First Alert forecast. So again, there's already an end in sight, but for the meantime, or in the meantime, we're talking about hotter weather on the way. Again, want to thank you for tuning in for streaming. Haven't noticed any YouTube questions coming in, so we're going to go ahead and bring you back to our Skycam here. This is Marietta Square looking back to the north and west. Across the square, back towards the Kennesaw Mountain area. It's a gorgeous one. Get outside if at all possible. I would say warming up, getting a little toasty this weekend. The real heat, though, holding off until next week. Want to remind you, First Alert meteorologist Patrick Pete is on at 10 p.m., joined by First Alert meteorologist Fred Campagna a little bit later at 10:30, and he'll handle that back half hour on Peachtree TV, Atlanta CW affiliate, and then back on at Atlanta News First, the late news at 11, hopefully, but very well. Going to be on a little bit late tonight because of network coverage of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Also, of course, we have our local highlights and the latest from our Georgia delegates as well coming up tonight on the late news. Full forecast there as well. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy it. Take a long walk. Hot weather back in the extended forecast.